Hi everyone, it's Steph. This is the Novelty Corner and today I'm back with some more picture book recommendations for you. Today we have Australian books for Halloween. Now, Halloween is not massive here. It is becoming more of a thing and has been steadily growing over the last couple of years, although world issues may have stifled that just a little bit. But we are starting to get a lot more of that Halloween feel during October, and there are actually some Australian picture books that are really great for Halloween. They're not always specifically Halloween related, and they're perfect for Halloween season regardless. We're going to jump in with 3 books today. The first one is a book called Scary Night by Lesley Gibbs and Stephen Michael King. This is a gorgeous little book. It opens with the blurb, "Once upon a scary night, 3 friends set out on a journey. But where were they going in the dead of the night, tiptoe creeping in the pale moonlight?" As it turns out, if you have a close look at some of the pictures, there's a present and a cake and all sorts of things that the characters are carrying. We work out that they're going to a birthday party, so it's not Halloween related. However, it is a really gorgeous story that would be perfect for reading with younger kids around Halloween time because it's spooky without being super scary. Because as they're traveling at nighttime, they're hearing noises, they're jumping at sounds, it's all of that sort of very creaky vibe. But it does have something very bright and cheerful at the end, so younger readers would appreciate this one. The next one is Halloween in Christmas Hills, The Legend of Stingy Jack by Karen Taylor and illustrated by Heath Mackenzie. Now this one is an interesting one because this is set in Australia. It is about Halloween and trick-or-treating. And you have the Cameron family, and Miles is the youngest of the Camerons, and it is his first time being allowed trick-or-treating with his older brothers and sisters. And he goes out with his family and they're going to all the houses in the neighborhood, and all of the houses react differently to Halloween, which is very much an Australian thing, the way that different people will actually engage with kids who decide to trick or treat. So some are really positive and give them a treat, some give them lectures on how Halloween is not an Australian holiday, and everything in between. However, there is one house on the street that looks old, decrepit, and it's the house where Stingy Jack lives. And none of his siblings are game enough to go up and ring the doorbell, but they convince Miles to do it. So Stingy Jack opens the door and is very creepy. But what we find out is that for years and years and years, because everyone's terrified of Stingy Jack in his house, all the kids in the neighborhood have been playing sports and hitting balls over into his fence, but none are game enough to go back and ask for them. So when Stingy Jack answers the door, he actually gives Miles all of the balls back from the neighborhood, which to Miles, who is a kid, is the best treat of all. And it was just really fun. I just loved how it brought a very Australian sense of Halloween into this story, because this is pretty much how people react when you talk about Halloween and trick-or-treating here. And then finally, this book is not a Halloween book, but it is one that I use every Halloween with my younger students because it's just great for coming up with some really cool Halloween themed ideas. And I have to say, this was not something that I came up with on my own. One of my teacher friends actually came up with an activity for this for Halloween, to have an Australian based book Halloween activity. And it's a book called Wombat Stew by Marsha K. Vaughan and Pamela Lofts. And in this story, you have a dingo who has captured a wombat and is planning on eating it. And it has a billy can, which you can sort of twist around to being a bit like a cauldron. And so he's planning on eating this wombat, and then all of the other bush animals see this and they're trying to find a way to stop him from doing anything to the wombat. And so they talk to him and they ask him questions about, what are you doing? And he tells them, I'm going to cook this wombat. And so they offer advice on the best recipe for wombat stew. And so they have him put in all sorts of weird, strange things into the pot. In between all of it, you have a little song that the dingo sings. If you can put up with my singing. Where's one of them? My favourite one. Wombat stew, crunchy munchy for my lunchy, wombat stew. And you have these great expressions of all the animals on the page. So this one's really great to talk to kids about the illustrations. I mean, you can use it any time of year. But I specifically bring it out in October and we talk about, okay, well, what were the ingredients that the dingo was putting into his wombat stew? Because there's things like feathers and leaves and grubs and dirt and whatnot. And then we put together our own wombat stew, a bit like a witch's brew, but a wombat stew. And they get to come up with all weird and disgusting ingredients that they can put in there, or fun and fluffy if they feel like it. So I love this one. It is very Australian. It is very fun. This one is a super fun one to read aloud because of all the singing, and the kids start singing with me usually. All right, so those are my Australian Halloween picture book recommendations. In the comments, if you have other recommendations for Halloween books, I would love to know. Otherwise, feel free to leave your favorite Halloween emoji in the comments. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.